Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from asortofinterestinglife.com and you're joining me for another episode of the Dan Brown Monologues, this time talking about my love of journaling and diaries. So let's dive straight in. First things first, you can see that I've got a fair old array of notebooks and diaries that I filled in over the time. This dates back at the latest to the year 2000 when I was 13 I think. I have my 14th birthday in that year. Unbelievable to think that this has managed to stay with me for so long and not been thrown out or otherwise destroyed. I always like this when I open it up. On the inside cover I've got my year 8 exams from school. So it's February and March 2000, and just having these things to look back on is the heart of why I love writing and having and keeping these diaries for so long. So this isn't about looking at each one and going, oh yeah, look, I was doing this at this point. I've done videos like that in the past from my old teenage year diaries, which I'll post a link in the description. But what I really want to talk about is just my general love of diaries as a whole. And as you can see, look, being able to look back at things that were going on in my life and what was important to me back literally, well, let's think, if that's the year 2000, 14 years ago, then you can imagine that just having these random little things and being reminded of things that you would obviously normally long forget, and I do forget until every now and then when I have a random flick through one of these old diaries and I'm like, oh yeah, remember him, or oh, remember that, or God, I can't believe that ever happened, or I can't believe that I ever used to like this or them so much. It's just fascinating to have that little bit of your own history, basically, that you've recorded, your actual thoughts and how you felt about stuff, which I think is something that, even if you can remember the events that are going on at these stages of your life, you very soon and very quickly forget the actual feelings and thoughts and what you were thinking about all of the things going on around you. And of course, looking into something that you wrote as like a young teenager in this case, it gives you that insight that is completely lost if you just keep a general... Well, for example, I'm very much into file facts use again at the moment, and I've got a diary from 2006 in this here, and this was the year that I left college and was doing eBay full-time selling Star Wars figures. And as you can see, I used this a huge amount, if I can actually separate any of these pages out, and I had an awful lot of stuff, as you can see, that I was writing. It's a shame I made such a good job of scribbling it all out, but having something like this, as much as that's great and I can look back on and it's got like various financial details and things that I wanted to get done and sorted, it was all wonderful and great. And it's very, at the time of use, this is obviously very handy. Just like using the file facts now, I've had to start again because I've become so disorganised in trying to do my YouTubing and all that sort of thing that it's just good to be able to put, right then, this is what's happening in my general life. These are the videos that I want to get done. These are the bits of writing that I want to get done. And this is the moving of the boat that I want to get done. And being able to put all of that out in a file of facts so you can see, right then, if I do this day, then that'll give me time to do this and this as well. I've got to go walking on that day, so that's a blank day. So that means I have to make sure next week I do some more stuff on these days. And you get the general gist. I went on a bit too much with that. But having something like this and my current file of faxes, and even I've got the A5 Domino file of fax, which I'm currently using, which is on the boat. Then this here is my the original file of fax, looking very dusty on the back there. And that I didn't really get into using properly as a personal size. It just can't quite sit with me properly these days for the A5. But looking back at something like this from, let's think, 2006, must be 8 years, call it. And being able to look back at this and go, God, this is what I was doing, and this is how my eBay career was happening, and this is the first day that I did this, that or the other, and this is when the Nintendo Wii came out, and all of those sorts of things. It's great to look back at, but unlike the actual written diaries, you don't have that reference of your thoughts and feelings, and I'm looking at these and seeing facts and figures and, right, take all this stuff to the post office on this day and post these to America, do all of the European shipping on this day, all of that sort of thing I can look at and go, oh yeah, those are the days. But I can't go, God, did I think that was a good week? Was I worried about the way that my eBay stuff was going? Or was I hoping that it would pick up? Was I hoping to maybe wind it down and get a job earlier on than I actually did? And all of those sorts of things are totally lost. And that's why I love writing in these actual notebooks and writing these little diaries. I've got more of my old diaries here. Now these were those flip calendars. Let's have a look at the Simpsons one. In fact, let's just take a few of these sheets out. No need to go wildly into it. But this is from 2002, so that would be when I was maybe 15, and it was one of these tearaway flip calendars. So that led me then to write on the back and then keep all of these different calendars in the boxes. So I had these little written records, and again, as you can see, I wrote an awful lot of stuff, and even sometimes it appears I wrote extra little bits. Yeah, Sunday 17th of February. I've done a bit more revising today, and I've still only done under an hour's worth. Oh dear, that's not a positive thing to be reading out. Didn't do much today. I've already read over 100 pages of Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. It's now 10:09 PM. Oh well, back to school tomorrow. And again, how random a little thing. That's obviously 100 pages of Lord of the Rings, and you can see the Saturday entry there. I bought Lord of the Rings, so from Saturday morning to Sunday night, I'd read 100 pages of that, and completely, obviously, done that at the expense of any revising for exams at school. And again, how bizarre and instant is that, that I can now say that when I bought the Lord of the Rings books, which started my obsession with an awful lot more of Tolkien's books. In fact, I would say that the Silmarillion is still one of my favourite books ever. But that was bought, those books were bought on the 16th of February 2002, and I read them once very quickly, as we've just seen, and then I read them immediately again after finishing them. And that's one of those things, like I say, that I love to have those random little references, and that's fetched back all the memories of going up to W.H. Smith. I think they might have been 3 for 2 on an offer like that, so I got all 3 of them, and it's like, oh yeah, this is amazing. I came back, lay on the bed just at the back of where this camera is now, and well, sat down and started reading and pretty much didn't stop. So yeah, that's what I love about keeping diaries and journals and things like that. I love being organised in the modern day, and I'm trying to sort out more videos and get all sorts of more fancy things sorted, but without having these actual diaries to look back on, I would obviously lose all of these memories and bizarre references to buy-in books or buy-in Pokemon and what trading cards that I sold and how much I got for them and all those sorts of things that give you an insight into what your life really was like. And of course, the things that you write in these notebooks are the things that you will tend to think are important at the time. So I've got this moleskin large notebook here, which I used as my original boat diary when I first bought the little boat that I moved on to, as you can see there. I literally kept all of these diaries of proper long-winded, pages on pages. I mean, this was the first day itself, just those that front section there. So something like that, again, I can read through that, and I've used these modern books to reference when I'm writing my little Kindle books that I write, and it's great to have those references, and I can really think, oh yeah, I remember that. And then when I'm talking about how amazed I was when I first went up onto the boat at night and it's really clear dark sky and very little light pollution, and thinking, wow, this is perfect. And similarly, I've got as well as what I currently use, my Midori Traveller's Notebook, and I do absolutely love this. Nearly showed you all my bank cards and details then. Very close there. So we'll just keep that shut for the time being. But I use these little notebooks inside them as the main inserts. And as you can see, I've had this for a year now. I've got 7 books out, and I'm on my 8th book that I've filled in over that year. And again, having these simple things to look back on from modern times is very useful for different bits and pieces when I'm generally going around doing my videos or sorting out the next book that I'm writing, to be able to look back and see a good in-depth thing of, oh yeah, this is what happened that day. Oh, remember when the kingfisher was flying all over the place? Or remember when this happened? Or when that big boat hit us? And all of those things that I can look through here, and I've got my inspiration and got my quick references to think, oh yeah, oh god, that was scary, I forgot about that. And then that obviously for practical purposes of writing a book is very useful. But just as looking back to another 10 years on top of that, it's the same principle when I look forwards and think, well, when I'm maybe 40, if I make it that far, touch wood, when I'm 40, if I look back on this, I'm going to see the ramblings of still a very young Dan Brown from ages 25 to 27 at the minute, all excited about living an outdoors lifestyle. And what will my view on life be then? Will I be living relatively similarly? Will I be living a totally different lifestyle and be thinking, cool, what a fool this Dan was on his little boat. Surely you didn't think he could keep that up for long. But ultimately, that's what these are the perfect reference for, and it shows how you change over time. And even when you look back at some of the more recent things, where for example, when I first bought the boat, I talk about how scared I was moving it and how terrifying every single thing like going through a lock was and stuff like that, where now I don't think of those as big issues or big deals at all, but I've got a written record here of just how scared and just how terrified I was in those early days. And of course, I'd probably be thinking now, oh yeah, I've been boating, it's all good, I like boating, and I'd probably already, my mind would be forgetting that I was ever terrified of getting out on the boat and steering off into goodness knows where and potentially damaging very expensive looking boats around me. So that's the general thing of why I like to have these to look back on, and certainly an element of why I like to write in them. But what I find, and there's little video clips and pictures that I've posted on the internet before, is actually writing in these. I literally take this up mountains in very literal sense. I always say down abandoned mines. This has been filled in at the sea, it's been filled in up mountains, it's been filled in on the boat, it's been filled in down the canal, sitting on a bridge. I've literally written these diary entries over this last year all over the place. And it's normally something that I do in the evening, because obviously I can then successfully record what's actually happened in the day. But without that, as a sort of calm way to force myself to stop, force myself to think through what's been going on in the day, and think through, right, what am I thinking, what am I feeling? These all bring, once again, like looking back and seeing what was important to you then, just as then, so now, when I sit down and write these, it's a nice calm end of the day, just a quiet activity to do, writing in a book, possibly a little bit of painting on a page here and there. And how relaxing and calming is that? And not only is that the calming influence of just doing that activity, but it's giving you, as I say, the time to think about and considering what you've been up to, what's happened that day, how do you feel about that, what's that going to mean for the rest of the week maybe. And of course, being able to sit down and think things through. It's something that I said recently in my walk-in video. It's the time to actually think and process that I think is a very good, healthy thing to do. It's something that not many people do, and not many people, or rather myself, until very recently when I really got back into proper diary keeping with the boat. I didn't do it at all, and I feel that I'm so much calmer. As I always say, I'm very lucky to have never had any real big stresses or dramas in my life. But even just a simple thing as keeping going out walking and having hours and hours of no distractions and countryside around you, and then writing in things like this, it's that same solitary activity, it's that same, right, we're just doing this activity, nothing else in the world matters, just fill in the page, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and your mind can just think about things. And that's what I love about keeping diaries, keeping journals, apart from the organisation and the reference, which are the reasons why, as I say, that's why I like to have them still and be able to look back at them. But the actual activity itself is just an enjoyable activity, it's calming, and ultimately, I think, just putting pen to paper, especially in the modern age where I've got an awful lot of my life documented in a similar way to what's on here, but only all on YouTube, where everybody, such as yourself right now, could be watching this video. To have something that's completely private and completely your own. I know I post pictures of this on the internet and videos like this all the time, but obviously when I'm actually writing in this, there's some things in these books that I would never show to the camera. And again, it's processing, it's thinking, and it's just an enjoyable, calm, relaxing way to end the day. Anyway, I think I've whittled on at you quite enough. I'll post a link in the description to a few videos of some random little snippets from all of my old diaries and that. And I will be posting in the next couple of weeks another one of let's read out some quotes from these classic old young Dan Brown diaries. There's some terrible Pokemon related items, I'm sure. So yeah, I'll post those in the description. Thank you very much for watching. If you're interested in notebooks and things like that, check out my channel because I have got a huge amount of notebooks and reviews and goodness knows what else on there. Plenty of living on a boat and the great outdoors stuff. And of course, feel free to check out my books for the Kindle. The Narrowboat Lad and the Narrowboat Lad Living the Dream. But what you might be interested in if you're interested in this sort of thing is my latest book, A Narrowboat and a Notebook, which features clippings from these little notebooks and my original boat diary, an awful lot, and hopefully you'll enjoy that. Anyway, subscribe, like the Facebook page, feel free to add me personally on Facebook and Twitter. Until the next time, keep it paper-based, have a fantastic day, and farewell.